Okay, so this is a 30-unit apartment-style building. It's a concrete construction, flat roof. Believe it or not, underneath the mansard roof there, it's actually brick all the way up to the top, so that was just put on there for decor. Consists of 12 two-bedrooms, 10 one-bedrooms, and 8 three-bedrooms. So again, very rare to get the three-bedroom units in this type of building. It was grossing around $320,000, okay, with an operating expense of $115,000, so leaving a net of about $205,000.
Strong.
And I will disclose, it did sell for $4.2 million. If you got a building, I got cash. I got lots of cash, lots of guys that are ready to buy this up. So if you got a building, and at the same time, if you're looking for a building, definitely reach out to us, because we do have that type of property come across our plate all the time.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. We got the man, the myth, the legend right here, Tamer Kamar. This is my good friend and colleague. It's the Kamar Cleary team that we're operating under here in Peterborough. And what a way to introduce you guys. We're going to give you a bit of a rundown to Tamer. I mean, first of all, this guy was top 1% C21 Canada last year. You did, what, $30 million in off-market
commercial deals,
commercial multifamily property deals. Yep. So we're standing in front of one of the units that got moved last year. Let's talk quickly about this, and then then we'll dive into a little bit about. We're going to talk about some of the large multi off-market stuff, and just get you guys understanding who is Tamer Kamar a little bit better. So
thank you, Mitch. Thank you. Very humbling. I mean, thanks for having me be a part of this too. So
absolutely.
So where you want me to start? You want me to start with the building?
Yeah. Let's talk about this building here. Like this was a. I mean, how many units is this building here?
Okay, so this is a 30-unit apartment-style building. It's a concrete construction, flat roof. Believe it or not, underneath the mansard roof there, it's actually brick all the way up to the top, so that was just put on there for decor. It's actually, so it's 30 units. It consists of 12 two-bedrooms, 10 one-bedrooms, and 8 three-bedrooms. So again, very rare to get the three-bedroom units in this type of building, but it was put into this building. Building was built in the 70s originally. So it's got a little sauna in there, and it's so it was at the time it was built as kind of like an upscale, nice.
It would have been,
with especially the elevator, 3 different laundry rooms, 1 on every floor, 10 units per floor, and it sits on just over an acre. So I think 1.3 or so. I'd have to confirm. So we sold this one last summer, okay? And again, off-market deal. A lot of these deals are off-market. You really don't see these things hit the market. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't need to happen most of the time, to be honest.
Can we talk about why that is? Like, I mean, there's the hassle, right, of the people who are well aligned to do this. You're talking big money. The financing's got to be quick. You don't want to bug 30 units for people. How many times with unqualified people coming off of MLS, right?
It's like you gotta pay to play. So the guys who are doing these deals, it's a certain network. And then people like myself that have the product to put to these buyers are usually able to, like, this was a double end deal, something that I was able to do internally, with my buyer and my seller. So,
And that's the way that, before we dive a bit further into the exact numbers on this one, to get people familiarized with the caps and whatnot in Peterborough, like, that's the way that so many of these big multis, would you say, I feel like anything over an 8, it's all going that way.
It's all going that way. Yeah, absolutely. Nobody really, I mean, you see the odd one, but nobody really needs to put those things on the market. And it's usually investors moving money. So, it does not. You very rarely hear it.
So that being said, if somebody out there is watching and they want to,
if you got a building, I got cash. I got lots of cash, lots of guys that are ready to buy this up. So if you got a building, and at the same time, if you're looking for a building, definitely reach out to us, because we do have that type of property come across our plate all the time.
Totally. This guy is like a conduit for this type of product. So, and it really is a unique language, and to be able to evaluate this stuff. So let's talk about this one more specifically. Because a big building like this, they don't come around that often. I expect somebody would have had to pay a premium.
Well, I'll tell you, Mitch. In hindsight, this deal was done in 2021. Was actually pretty decent deal.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you where it went. It was a 30 unit. It was grossing around 320,000. Okay, with an operating expense of 115,000. So leaving a net of about 205,000.
Strong.
And I will disclose, it did sell for 4.2 million. So that's about a 4.8 cap. Now those numbers are not really there today, but they do come once in a while. Now listen, I will say it was a 4.8 cap, but it needed a little bit of work. But the buyer was well aware of that, is experienced with this type of building, and knows, I mean, there was a huge potential upside. When we're talking 4.2 mil on 30 units, you know, we're talking, you know, less than $1,000, less than $1,000 a rent. So there's a big upside. And now listen, that buyer is going to take on that undertaking to bring it up. But when he's done, you know,
and let's talk about that. Brings a good point where I'm starting to see, because being a part of a couple of these transactions with you last year and really getting to being on the analysis a bit, is that a lot of times people got to be willing to park their capital there and not really see the big returns up front. It's more because when you see, like, let's just do the simple math. You get 30 units at 4.2 million when the average house in Peterborough, when we're on Chamberlain Street here, and some of this really basic, like 2-story rundown product is $500,000 for the most basic thing. So to, you know, if you take $4 million and dump it into single family dwellings,
you're not going to even remotely come near this. Your 8 houses, your 8 houses rather than 30 units.
Suited, so that's where I think people, when they see the low rents, the 10-year rents in there and stuff, they back off. The numbers don't make any sense. It's like, they don't make any sense right now, but how do you understand, like, 30 units for 4.2 million?
It's unreal. And especially, you know, especially again, the diversity of the units here being, you know, that there's 2s, there's 1s, and the 3s. The 3s are so rare in an apartment style building. So that was, you know, that was really an upside that this buyer was quick to realize and to notice and to pay. And I will say this, there was no negotiation. The seller put his price on this, and that was that. There wasn't, I mean, honestly, we tried 25, not a penny. It was, you know, you want it, you pay for it. But in hindsight, it's a great deal. Now, it's been a lot of work for the guy, but it will have an upside, and he will cash on that big time when it's said and done.
Totally. So. Okay, so we're just catching another angle of the property here.
Big building.
Totally, it is. And on that note, let's just good transition into, say somebody owns a couple of 4s and they're looking at a city like Peterborough and they're thinking, I want to spread my wings and get into something bigger.
Then you call Tamer Kamar and Mitch Cleary, first of all. So you call Tamer Kamar, you call Mitch Cleary, and we'll get you set up. But we'll explain it a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
So let's talk about, like, what advice would you give anybody out there in terms of just on the broad strokes about financing, getting ready? What type of things should they be thinking about before calling you?
Well, I'll tell you. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to talk to a financial institution that you want to work with. And let me say this, the qualifying for these buildings is actually a lot easier than your typical residential real estate, you know, 4 units, 5 units and under. When you're into this type of bracket, you're into a commercial financing, and a lot of those qualifications are based on the income and the performance of the building. So really, you'll need a good chunk of down payment, but I mean, again, creative financing, private money, remortgaging, refinancing other properties. If you own a few 4s, 5s, whatever, there's probably the equity in that to do it. And it's actually a lot easier to come up with these types of these buildings than you think. Like, people think 30, it's overwhelming, it's too big for me. It's actually a lot easier. Again, because the bank's going to look at it like a business.
Right? Exactly.
I would just, you took the words out. It's a bank's looking at it like you're buying a business, and so it's going to be based on its income. Okay, you're not going to get the benefit of the upside, but that's going to be your benefit for the future, and maybe for your refi to buy the next one.
Yeah, you know, and that's a good. So let's talk on the upside, because with this building specifically, how do you think that these owners are going to make the most use out of? You know, they bought it at a 5. They already got a good cap rate.
They got a great cap rate. They really did.
In terms of the renovations and sort of, like we said, it's a long-term buy and hold. There will be natural turnover as time goes on. They'll realize some market rents, right? But what would you say for somebody who's like buy and hold? How do you think they're going to get the most? You know, basically the best.
So it is a long-term investment. I mean, if I can speak on this guy's behalf, like, it is a long-term investment for this gentleman. He buys and holds properties. He doesn't really sell them. So I think he's looking at the big picture of it, and with volume and enough of them cash flowing a certain point, he's created his income. Obviously, there's the long-term value and the appreciation and the, you know, RSP kind of aspect where it's a long-term investment. But even in the now, they do cash flow to a certain extent, and I think just by having so many units, he's being able to carve a nice little piece of life.
Just holding on to it and letting it
really,
turn over
really
time.
is.
Really long
it
view.
Really is. Yeah, absolutely.
Knowing that, it reminded me of.
And now he's a little aggressive. Now he's he works it, right. So if someone wants out before a lease is up, no problem. If if there's opportunities, we won't get into it too much detail. But cash for keys, this, that, whatever. There's different ways to start really kind of working on this building.
If the opportunity's truly there, and it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So one last thing, I think you touched on. You see a lot of these deals CMHC financed, right?
Yep. So I mean, right now, at least last year there was I think 3 or 4 of them went through CMHC, and with CMHC programs and
I had one that we were working on, really slowed it down, albeit. So that's
listen, it takes time. You're 6 months. You're not going to be a 30 or 60 day close on a CMHC deal. You're going to be 6 months. It's going to take some time, and you're probably going to have to get it is work, but it pays off. It pays off with special interest rates. It pays off with special terms, and it's pretty good financing. So we're fortunate in Canada to have that available to us.
Totally. Totally. Well, Tamer, great discussion as always.
Mitch.
Pleasure to have you on here and get introduced to the crew. And
nice
any
to meet
last
everybody
words for anybody? Well, you got the captive audience.
No, not a whole lot. Just Kamar Cleary, Kamar Cleary, Century 21 Peterborough.
And of course, this won't be the last time you see Tamer on the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I think you guys will learn to know and love him. He's got great insights on this market, and he's a nearly 20-year guy in the city, so he knows it inside and out. He's got all the connections, and if you guys want to follow us, you can find Tamer's social media through Kamar Cleary PTBO, the team page, and then you'll find us from there. And it won't be the last time you hear from this guy. So
excellent,
awesome.
We'll look forward to meeting you.
All right, thanks for being here, brother.
All right, okay, guys.
All right.